All right, what is going on, everybody? What is going on? Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the post-game show. Lakers over the Milwaukee Bucks, 119-95, the final score. We're just going to go live right away. Tonight, let's just start this instant reaction. Let's start talking some Lakers basketball. A lot of great stuff to get into, and no need to honestly wait for it. So thank you for being here. Let everybody kind of work their way into the post-game show. I think tonight's going to be a fun game to talk about. We'll get an opportunity to talk about the game. We'll get an opportunity to talk about individual players, including Luka, DeAndre Ayton, Austin Reaves, a complete team performance with no Marcus Smart and no Rui Hachimura in this game as well. So we'll get a chance to hit on a lot of different things. I also want to spend some time talking about the 3-2 road trip for the Lakers overall. 10-4 now on the season. I want to keep emphasizing that. I'm going to probably mention that a lot as we sit here, because to see what the Lakers have already done this season without LeBron James, listen, I get it. There's levels to this game, and I'm not going to try to sit here and tell you that the Lakers are perfect. I'm also not going to try to sit here and tell you that the Lakers are the favorite in the West, because they're not. There's clearly teams better than them in the Western Conference. The Oklahoma City Thunder are in a league of their own. That's not kind of the point of the argument that I'm going to try to make when I come on here. But 10-4 to start the season is wildly impressive for this Lakers team. 10-4 to start this season without one of the top. Where do you want to put him? It's up to you where you want to put LeBron. You want to put him top 10, top 15? Completely up to you. I don't care where people want to make the argument. Look how many different lineups they've had. Look how many different players that they've had in and out of the lineup. I think it shows a lot. It also shows the greatness of individual players like Luka Doncic, obviously guys like Austin Reaves. And then I'm looking forward to talk a little bit about Ayton tonight, because I think Ayton deserves a lot of credit as well. So thank you for being a part of the post-game show. I ask one thing. If you guys can subscribe to the channel, be greatly appreciated. All right, let's get into it. I think people can look at this game in a few different ways, and I'm going to assume some of the angles people might have. Some of the angles people might have is, Al, they went up 31, and oh my gosh, it went all the way down to 13. I don't think it got closer than 13. And I know the Lakers were playing a little bit in that second half just to kind of hold on to the lead. We know the 15-0 run that Milwaukee got started there in the third quarter. I don't know if they started the third quarter on a 15-0 run, but I know they went on a 15-0 run, and that 31-point lead went down to 16 basically instantly. It only took a couple of minutes for that to happen. If you want to point out that portion of the game, and if you want to come on this post-game show, and if some of the comments are going to complain about, what happened from that perspective, I really, really think you're looking at this game the wrong way. The way you should look at tonight's game is the Lakers built a 31-point lead on the road on a second of a back-to-back. How the hell did they accomplish that? By the way, not against a good team, but also not against the Washington Wizards or the Charlotte Hornets, against, I would call, a mid-team in the Eastern Conference in the Milwaukee Bucks. I think another thing that you should walk away with from this game, whether the Lakers won by 1 or they won by 25, it didn't matter tonight. I mean, listen, I was talking about this yesterday when I was doing the post-game show after the Pelicans, after, obviously that game went the way it did. I was looking at this game completely differently. I was telling everybody, look, they've played so far on this road trip. They've played like a 2-3 team on this road trip, as in, I don't know if they're going to win tonight. The way they played that 4-game stretch on the road was not a good look for the Lakers. However, if you found a way to win tonight and you're 3-2 on this road trip, there should not be one person bitching and complaining about what the Lakers were able to accomplish, not just tonight, but on this road trip. You're going to have some ups. You're going to have some downs. Certainly the game in Atlanta we could talk about. Certainly, there are moments in that game in the Pelicans where I wanted to fall asleep. I'm like, this is the most boring game that I've ever seen. Okay, that happens. You got an 82-game grind. They went to Milwaukee, second of back-to-back, and absolutely laid the wood on the Milwaukee Bucks for a span here. And I'm going to look at this because I want to look at specific quarters. Look how they started the game. 30-18 at the end of the first quarter, 65-34 by the time you got to halftime. That's an ass kicking. That's a phenomenal performance by this Lakers team. And that's a big time W for a squad that's now 10-4 in the Western Conference. All right, let's talk a little bit about how the Lakers got there, how they got the win, what exactly they had to do to put themselves in this position. Let me start. Oh, man, there's so many players I want to start with. Let me start with a kind of a little bit more of a unique one tonight, because yes, I could talk about Luka Doncic putting up another 40 plus. Yes, I could talk about how clutch Austin Reaves looked like in the fourth quarter. I want to say hitting 3 threes in the span of a couple of minutes, and not just any threes, big time threes. Moments where, like, hey, this could kind of get a little bit more interesting. Reaves would quiet it down. I don't want to start with those two players. I'm going to start with Ayton. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to start with Ayton. Because I spent a lot of the post-game show yesterday talking about how for DeAndre Ayton, I don't really care what he does against the Pelicans, who have no bigs. And, you know, I'm just not, I'm not as keen to pay attention to that. What I want to know is what did you do against the Oklahoma City Thunder when they had Chet, when they had Isaiah Hartenstein down low? And what he did was he didn't perform well. I mean, just simply put, he didn't play well. In the big game of this road trip that the Lakers needed a player like DeAndre Ayton, he didn't show up for the Lakers. And you know what? You know, we come on the post-game show and we're critical. And, you know, obviously we talk about what he did and we're going to be honest with each other. I think that's, you know, the part of this. And this is what I enjoy most when I'm doing some of these post-game shows is I want to be objective. I want to give players credit when they deserve it. And then I also want to be critical when they also deserve it as well. I thought Ayton deserved to be critical about what he did against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And frankly, I didn't care what he did against the Pelicans because that didn't mean anything. But if you guys remember in the post-game show last night, I did say, hey, I'm very curious how Ayton responds in a game like tonight where you knew you were going to go up against a team that had good big men. Giannis Antetokounmpo is arguably the second best big man in the NBA. And then you got Miles Turner. That's a good big man as well. Obviously, their big offseason addition. That's why they still owe Dame $123 million over the next 5 years as they stretched out his contract. Here's Ayton's numbers. 9 of 13 from the field, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block shot. Shout out to DeAndre Ayton tonight. I thought there were some possessions where he was altering shots. I thought there were some possessions where he was aggressive when the Lakers needed him to be. I thought he got himself into foul trouble, and if he didn't, those numbers would have been even better. I thought there were a couple of possessions where Giannis was trying to bully Ayton, and Ayton stood his ground. Shout out to Ayton tonight. So I'm not going to be doing my job unless I'm also giving credit where credit's due, and I thought Ayton gets a lot of credit for what he was able to do tonight. I enjoyed watching him play tonight. I think, you know, he's continuing to have a good season for the Lakers. I think he's continuing to show his value for this team and why they were so desperate to try to get a big man like that. So I really thought that, and I think it was smart. I think I want to start with him on the post game because I do feel like what he was able to do was critical for the Lakers. And, you know, like I said, I think he could have done more, but he put himself in foul trouble. So didn't probably play the amount of minutes that you were hoping for, 28 minutes for DeAndre Ayton. But in the 28 minutes he played, he was efficient. He had moments on the defensive side, and then certainly he had some moments on the offensive side. So I think as a totality for Ayton, this is a nice rebound game for him because not all games are created equal. I thought he played well against the Spurs when it's Wemby out there. I thought he played well against this Bucks game where Giannis is out there, Miles Turner's out there. And I thought he struggled against Oklahoma City Thunder, as every single Laker player did in that game against the OKC Thunder. Okay. Let's keep it moving on here. And I know I got a lot of people that want to also chime in. So let me try to do a little bit better of a job of taking a look at a couple of these comments here. All right, Francis, thanks for the super, brother. I appreciate you doing that. We won our revenge game versus Ham and Taurean Prince. I think if I'm right, I think Prince has an injury. So, you know, unfortunately for Taurean Prince, who's actually done well for the Milwaukee Bucks. But yes, this, I'm sure that the speech coming into this game by JJ Redick was, go get some vengeance on Darvin Ham. I'm sure that was on the mind of a lot of Laker players out there, that it was all about that specific moment for them. All right, let's keep going here. Sylvester, can you please stop talking about OKC? I don't talk about OKC to annoy anybody or to bother anybody. I use it as an example when I'm trying to make some certain points. So the idea of me talking about the Thunder has less to do about the actual game. It has more to do when I'm trying to make some points. I'm trying to really compliment DeAndre Ayton, because in a game where I thought he didn't play well, he rebounded and was really well, obviously tonight for the Lakers, in a game that was tough. Okay, I want to go back to a couple others. Let me highlight these. Somebody wants to talk about Kuz. I'll hit on Kuz later. I don't want to do that right now. Okay, let's talk about Maxey a little bit later. Let's do that. I like that. Somebody wants to get into a Do Thero. I'm going to do that as well. Let me get into a couple of these other individual players here real quick as we continue. Listen, I think I've been kind of a little bit addicted to listening to a lot of different podcasts about the Dallas Mavericks and Nico Harrison and his firing and the trade and all this stuff. And every time I listen to one of them, I'm like, yeah, I still don't understand how he's a Laker, but all right, Luka's a Laker. One thing that, first off, Luka just incredibly kind of slicing and dicing the Milwaukee Bucks. He got to the free throw line 20 times. Still had his 6 assists, his 9 rebounds, 2 block shots, a steal for Luka Doncic. And then just, here's the thing. You have great players sometimes, and you just kind of slowly, quietly squeeze in and he dropped 41. The greats in the NBA train you to look at their stat line and no longer be impressed by it, because they do it every single night. One of the things I think Luka's been struggling from an efficiency perspective, I've talked about it on the postgame show. He's not shooting the ball well. He's definitely not shooting the ball well from 3. Him and Austin Reaves kind of took some turns. I wrote it here in my notes. So let me kind of just shine a light on this here real quick. By the way, just literally a perfect half by the Lakers. They're up 31, flawless, everybody touching the ball, moving all over the place on defense, only give up 30 and some change. Just an incredible first half for the Lakers. And I want to spend some time talking about the Bucks, because I did an episode yesterday when I did my show in the morning. I talked about how I don't see Giannis Antetokounmpo finishing his career in Milwaukee. I don't think this team is talented enough, and I don't think they're going to, what Giannis wants, they're going to provide for him. I think tonight's a really, really good example of that. So I'll get into that in just a little bit. But something about Luka. Yes, you can have the stats, but sometimes it's not just the points you score, but it's when you score them. Luka went on to close the third quarter. Luka went on, I think he hit 2 threes and then also got a bucket. At some point, he also had another bucket that DeAndre Ayton offensive interference. So he didn't get that basket as well. But just a calm, cool 41 for Luka. Let's call it a day. That's Luka Doncic. I come in, I clock in, I give you 41. I give you some beautiful highlights. I throw a couple of lobs. I hit step back 22, 25 footers in other NBA's players' eyes, and then I call it a day and I go home. That's Luka Doncic. Today, I don't know what it was with my YouTube feed, but my YouTube feed kept feeding me all these like conversations. I was listening to the Le Batard show. I was listening to, who else I listened to? I think was listening to Rick Bucher break it down. I just, I got caught into the whole Nico Harrison thing. And some of the things that people were saying, Amin El-Hassan was breaking it down. He's come on the show before. So a friend of the show, Amin, was breaking it down as well. And some of the things they were breaking down, it was just like, the stupidity, obviously, of the trade, Nico Harrison, all that. And then you just watching Luka, and you still can't put all the pieces together how the Lakers got so fortunate to get him, which is really why they're sitting 10-4 without LeBron. I mean, no LeBron James, and they're sitting 10-4. That tells you everything you need to know. In order for you to have that, is you got to still have other star type of talent. They got one of the top 5 players in the league. So Luka handling his business tonight. Let me hit on Austin Reaves here real quick. I've said this before, and I don't think Reaves has looked all that impressive these last few games. I don't, since he came back. I think there's been, I don't know how to describe it, but there hasn't been a flow to his game since he came back from that groin injury. And I mentioned that Stu Lance yesterday was talking about during the broadcast. He said something to the effect of like, those can linger. It's going to take him a second. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. But I think from a fan perspective, we just see players, we see them in the game. It's like, well, why aren't they perfect? Why isn't Austin Reaves putting up 35 like he was, earlier in the season? Tonight was the first game that I felt like he was in a groove. Tonight was the first game that I felt like, oh, yeah, that's Austin Reaves. And Reaves, how many assists did Reaves have? I'm going to probably keep harping on this. I'm going to annoy people. Reaves led the Lakers tonight with 8 assists. I genuinely believe one of the most underrated areas of Austin Reaves' game is his facilitating. What I hope to see more of from Austin Reaves, and, if I go, I got to see what my schedule's like, but the next Laker game that I go to, maybe I'll go Tuesday. I'm not 100% sure yet. The next game I go to, I want to ask JJ Redick about that, because I feel like Reaves had a couple of reads where he hit Dalton Connect with a beautiful bucket, and it was just had a smart play where he cut baseline, and Austin Reaves just caught him at the perfect time, and Milwaukee kind of fell asleep on the play. But the very next possession, who was it? I'm trying to think off the top. Was it LaRavia? Was it Ayton? Was it Hayes? I don't know who it was, but he hit somebody else. And there was 2 straight possessions, and those might have been my favorite possessions from Austin Reaves. Now, Reaves was also hitting big-time threes, and yes, there is obviously a tremendous asset for Austin Reaves being that offensive threat. Luka's on the sideline. He could start cooking again. But tonight he looked like he was actually in a flow, and I haven't seen him in a flow in a week. I haven't seen him in a flow since he left with the groin injury and since he came back. So however amount of days that's been, I haven't seen Austin Reaves in a flow. Today felt like he was in a flow. But that piece that I said about the 8 assists, his facilitating, I really think it's an underrated piece of his game. And I feel like Austin Reaves, he doesn't even realize what a big piece of his arsenal that can be. I mean, there are times where I'd run stuff through Austin Reaves, even if you have Luka there, because Austin Reaves has this just natural tendency to find the right guy at the right time. I think he's a great threat when he has the ball, but also has the mindset of a point guard rather than a scorer. So those are the 3 players I just wanted to connect with real quick. We'll get into some of the other guys, and, obviously I want to spend some time looking at some of your comments as we go through this. So big win for the Lakers. Big win. It's a really nice win for the Lakers. 119-95. Not even just a win and an ass kicking. This is why I think the Bucks are I think they're average in the Eastern Conference. I think at best, they win 1 round. And that's not with the East even stacked this year, right? Tyrese Halliburton is out. Jason Tatum is out. There's a window in the Eastern Conference, and I don't even think the Bucks are going to be able to take advantage of it. This is why I think this conversation about Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to continue to be a conversation. I think it's a legit conversation. And if you ask me 2 years from now, 1 year from now, is Giannis a Buck? I would tell you, no, I don't think he's going to be. That's not based off of anything. That's just based on what Giannis has told us. Giannis has said he wants to compete for an NBA championship. He doesn't want to be known as a guy that only got 1. Why am I playing the game then if I'm not competing? I'm mixing his words a little bit, but that's kind of been the reference to what he said. What have you guys seen from the Milwaukee Bucks that tells you that they are going to accomplish what he's hoping to accomplish for the rest of his career? All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. A lot of comments here. Somebody asked this question: what happened to Kuzma? He got a ton of tattoos inside the Lakers and doesn't seem to mesh at all with this Bucks team. I don't know if the tattoos have anything to do with that. I don't think they do. Yeah, Kuz, let me see what Kuz's numbers are. Oh my God. Kuz had 1 point and 1 rebound. Jesus. I know Kuz has not been, the player he was. I think there was a time with Kuz when he was on the Lakers and they won that championship in 2020. He had a really nice role for the team. And I think he was completely bought in. And there was this, wow, I got a chance to be around all these Hall of Famers. I got a chance to win an NBA championship. I got a chance to let this kind of be what my career is going to be. I'm going to be that third, fourth best player on a team. And I'm going to accept that role. And I'm talented. And there's things that I can do. And I could be a real asset. The moment he went to Washington, I'm like, yeah, he's going to struggle out there. Why he's going to struggle is because the Wizards decided to pay Kuz and Jordan Poole as if those were going to be the foundations of their franchise. How stupid can you be to think that that's going to be the foundation of your franchise? I mean, I'm not a general manager or president of basketball operations. None of us are. There's a franchise out there that thinks Kuzma, Jordan Poole, watch what we're about to go do. How dumb. And frankly, I think Kuzma's time in Washington hurt him. Came to the Bucks. Can you kind of play the role that you used to play with the Lakers? The answer is no. 1 point and 1 rebound. That's awful. That's really, really bad. I didn't know it was that bad, but that is just awful. All right, let's take a look here. I like this. Let's talk Maxey for a quick second. What'd you guys think? I got to be completely honest with you. I had no issues with any of Maxey Kleber's minutes tonight. None. And frankly, I was surprised by his minutes. I was surprised that he got that many minutes. And I thought he was kind of an asset for the Lakers. I really did. Hit a 3, which was nice. Not something that at this stage of his career, to be honest with you, I don't know what Maxey Kleber is. I'm just assuming that he's not going to do much. Maxey was nice tonight. I thought Maxey was a really nice asset for the Lakers tonight. I thought he was smart. I thought he was one of those vets that was kind of nice to have on the floor. A couple assists here and there. He's not gonna try to look for his shot or anything. He knows exactly what his role was. One of the things I always say, like I've heard people say, Al, they can't play Vando, or Al, who cares about Gabe Vincent? Don't mention him. Here's the thing. I'll always go back to those guys that you go further and further down the depth chart. I'd rather have them than not have them, and give JJ Redick the option of whether he wants to play them or he doesn't. Kind of a surprise for Maxey Kleber tonight. I wasn't expecting that. I genuinely did not have any issue with Maxey Kleber's minutes tonight. All right, let's look at some here. Kuz's best years were the Lakers. Defense and his threes were on point. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that one. All right. Kleber looked active. Kleber can move his feet pretty well on D. I mean, the guy was injured for a long time and then thought he was like back and healthy to go and then got injured again. So I do remember when he was with Dallas, he was okay with Dallas. He was all right with the Dallas Mavericks. Now the question is going to be, obviously what he's able to do moving forward. Let's see what he got here. Vando might get traded. He was a minus 11. Yeah, Vando has not had, a really good start to the season by any stretch of the imagination. Maxey looks solid. Need to get his hips going, but solid night. I like those young guys at the end. Today was cool because you got a chance to see Adu Thero make his season debut. And I've talked about it a couple times, whether on my show or when we're doing the post-game show. I've talked about it a couple of times where kind of one of the things I'm excited about Adu Thero, he's just this freak athlete, 6'8", like perfect size in the NBA. We'll see what he is. Nobody's going to be able to figure out what he is, but high flyer, energy guy, runs up and down the floor. I remember right when he checked in, he got an offensive rebound for the Lakers, and Stu and Billy Mack were like, that's the energy the Lakers need. That's going to be his job. So that was cool to see Adu Thero. And then, towards the end, Bronny giving him that bounce pass. And then Adu Thero there's some dudes in the league that just have, when they get up, you're kind of asking yourself like, all right, something's about to happen here. because that's just what they are. I mean, I'm the most I could have seen is a Adu Thero in college, but I think we're going to have some of those highlights with Adu Thero where a lot of people are going to look at this guy and say, okay, that's he's an athlete. How much is he going to be able to help the Lakers? We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's take a look at some more comments here, and we'll keep going. Giannis to Lakers confirmed. Hayes had a couple really, really nice highlights as well. Hayes, when he gets, what did Jackson? Let me look at some of the other players here real quick. Bronny started, which I genuinely have no idea why he started. Ended up playing 9 minutes. Why did they start him? I mean, I have no idea why they started him. Let me look at a couple other guys. Connect, take it. I'll take 4 of 8 from the field with 6 rebounds for Dalton Connect. I'll take that all day long for Dalton Connect. And to be honest with you, Connect's misses shots that he should hit. Like sometimes he gets wide open looks, and I feel like it's not a pure shot. It's almost as if he's thinking about the shot that he's going to take. But Dalton Connect, 9 points and 6 rebounds. I'll take that. Also had 3 steals. Jackson Hayes ended up with 10 points and 6 rebounds. And as you guys were mentioning, just some real highlight dunks. And this is perfect for Dalton Connect. He thinks too much. I couldn't agree more. He thinks too much. I'm going to get into a couple other players here real quick. Let me just break this one down. So can you explain the plus-minus stat? Very simple. I'm on the floor for 15 minutes. In those 15 minutes that I was on the floor, we had a 4-point lead. I'm a +4. Okay. I'm on the floor in the next game for 25 minutes. In the 25 minutes I was on the floor, we were down by 14. Like in the totality of the time that I was in, I'm a -14. Very simple. A lot of people, I think, make too big of a deal about it. I remember one time being at a presser and Greg Popovich is like, I hate that stat. I'm like, well, Popovich hates that stat. What does that stat mean? I don't think that stat means everything, but I think it means something. So I would kind of look at it somewhere in the middle. Our boy Jake LaRavia, I like Jake being on the floor. I like him starting. I like his 6 rebounds and his 2 steals. Ravia struggled from the field. 1 of 10 from the field. You want to talk about guys thinking maybe a little too much? I put LaRavia in that category as well. I think LaRavia was one of those that was probably thinking a little bit too much as well. All right, let's see. Lakers could have won this game by 40. The funny thing is, it just didn't matter how much they won by. This wasn't a game that if they won by 1 point, I don't give a flying F. I would say, okay, cool. Great. They won by 1. Call it a day. They go 3-2 on the road trip. But they just happened to win by, 24 points or however, the amount that the Lakers won by 26 points. But I don't think it matters how much they won by. I think a road win against the Milwaukee Bucks team that has Giannis Antetokounmpo, even though I'm not crazy about their team, I think it's the only thing that matters. Classy move by Giannis. Did they end up giving the game ball? I know there was what was that negotiation going on between the Lakers and the referees? They want to give Adu Thero the ball. Give him the ball. I mean, I'm assuming that's what they wanted to do. Just give him the damn ball. Is it that big of a deal? They was making a big deal like it was something, unless Giannis ended up doing it. And by the way, if he did do it, then I'm not surprised because Giannis is. I take Giannis as a classy individual, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's what Giannis ended up doing. All right, yes, Giannis overstepped and gave it to the Lakers. All right, and by the way, you surprised? I'm not. Okay, let's hit on a few different things, and I definitely want to continue our conversation. I'm going to flip it a little bit here. I'm going to do the 3-2 road trip as a whole because I want to talk about that because I think that's worth having a conversation about. I think that's obviously a big time accomplishment for the Lakers. Before I do so, I'm going to tell you guys about one of our partners here on this channel. So the Wallace firm, who I used to work with back in the day when I was on radio, he used to be a partner, and I used to do his ad reads on radio. I remember when I was telling this guy that I was moving over to YouTube and I'm going to go 100% independent, the whole thing. He's like, all right, I'm interested. I'm like, all right, well, I was just telling you because, frankly, I got some people that have been in my life or in my circle that have a little bit more of a mentor style. And I think of Brad Wallace in that way. And then here we are, almost a year of now doing a partnership together on YouTube as well. I hope you never need him. I hope a family member is never in a serious injury, a wrongful death case, anything, even remotely close or associated to that. But things do happen in life. And if you do need an injury attorney and you're in the state of California, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. That's the website. So you obviously go to the website, get a free consultation. He can put you in touch. If he can't specifically help you, he's going to put you in touch with somebody who can. One of the great things here is I've had listeners that have reached out to him. I've had listeners that filled out the free consultation. So I'm glad that people have put their trust in me and have put their trust in the partnership. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. All right, the road trip for the Lakers. 3-2. I thought tonight's game was going to be very indicative of how we were going to talk about this road trip. I thought one of two things were going to happen. Either we were going to come on here and talk about how the Lakers just really haven't played good in 5 games. Or the other conversation we were going to have is that the Lakers found a way to win a game against, let me get this score back up, or the Lakers found a way to win their final road game against the Milwaukee Bucks and put themselves in a position where they went 3-2 on the road trip. Guys, I don't care what team you are. Road games aren't easy. Certainly your last 2 on a long road trip, you're probably feeling it. You're probably like, man, I just want to get back home. Man, I just want to sleep in my own bed. Man, I just want to see my family, kids, whatever the case is. To be 1-2 on this road trip after the Thunder loss, to kind of feel like there's no momentum going the Lakers' way, to feel like the team isn't playing nearly as good as they were to start the season, to win these final 2, I think is a big deal. When I come on here and I talk with you guys, which is something I really enjoy doing, I don't try to be overly dramatic. I just kind of try to tell it how it is. Winning 2 in a row and going 3-2 on this road trip, that's a big deal. That's a big deal to put themselves in that position. I mean, that flight going home right now, whenever they finish their pressers and they start working their way back to Los Angeles, they got to feel pretty good about themselves. Marcus Smart didn't play tonight. Rui Hachimura didn't play tonight. You were missing 2 starters. You started Bronny and LaRavia, and what did LaRavia do? He went 1 for 10. What did Bronny do? He didn't do anything. He played 9 minutes for you. But there were enough guys that stepped up. The Lukas, the ARs, the Aytons, the Jackson Hayes, the Dalton Connect, I thought had a decent game. Kleba, I thought gave them some pretty decent minutes. There were enough guys that stepped up that got you 3-2 on this road trip. They should feel good about themselves. And I think the bigger thing to pay attention to, I don't know when LeBron's coming back. Got no idea. Have absolutely no idea when LeBron's coming back. But hypothetically, let's say he misses the next game for the Lakers, which is coming up on Tuesday. That will be 15 games that Bron misses. You're taking on a team in the Utah Jazz. Lakers obviously going to be expected to win that game. You can start the season out 11-4 without LeBron. You can go 15 games into this season, almost a quarter into the season. No, that quarter, 15, 30, not even close to a quarter. Probably about maybe 17, 18%, something like that. But you can get close to about 20% of this season without LeBron James and be 11-4. That's why I think going 3-2 on the road trip is important. That's why I think getting off to the right start is important. I mean, listen, if I told you before the season started that LeBron was going to miss 14 games, and I said the Lakers, or 15 games, and I said the Lakers went 8-7, you'd be like, okay, I get it. You know, you're missing LeBron. You're going to have some games that you struggle. Well, they're not 8-7. They're not 9-6. You know, they are in position right now at 10-4 to take care of a team against the Utah Jazz. And then they don't play after this game they got coming up against the Jazz. They don't play again for, I think, It's not going to be until next Sunday. So they got some time off here. And maybe that gives LeBron the opportunity to say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to play on Tuesday. I'm ready to go for that following game, which is in a week or whatever the case is. That's impressive. That is impressive. That's kind of, I think for me, that's the point that I want to walk away in this post-game show tonight. They recover after the 1-2 start to the road trip. They win 2 in a row. They win back-to-back. They go 3-2. And here they are now sitting at 10-4, a chance on Tuesday to go 11-4. That's impressive. It's impressive without LeBron. All right, we'll take a look at some more comments, and then I want to talk about the next game for the Lakers. And then I also want to hit on some scores in the NBA. And I want to look at the standings. I want to see if the Lakers are making any headway in the standings by winning some of these games. Logan, Luka doesn't get enough credit for his defense. Logan, I appreciate you chiming in. Thank you for the super very much. I don't know if I know what you mean by that, because I think there's some times where Luka's just, that's not going to be his forte. Maybe what I think you mean, here's where Luka's not going to excel on the defensive side. If you got a quick, fast point guard that's taking him off the dribble 22 feet away from the basket, probably not going to excel. But because Luka is such a big guard, get him with somebody with a little bit size, and he can kind of stay with him a little bit better. But he's not going to guard some of these shifty point guards that can get left to right. So maybe that's what you mean in regards to that. Logan, I appreciate you coming in and throwing that in. Alicia, who's been a member for 8 months. Where's your cups, Lee? It's the weekend. Great win. Alicia, number one, thank you for being a member. I appreciate you looking out for me and saying, Slee, where's your bourbon? Can't do it tonight. Can't do it tonight. But I appreciate it. I know where you're going with that. So thank you. You have a drink for me tonight. You have a drink for me. Francis, why are you surprised that we are 10-4? Luka's a top 5 player. AR is an all-star caliber. Ayton, Smart, and Rui are nice. Okay, well, let's hit on that. Francis, thank you for the 5 spot, brother. I appreciate it. I think you were walking into the season with a lot of question marks. I think you were asking yourself the question of Luka and AR in the backcourt, what's it look like? I think you were asking yourself the question of, what is Ayton going to look like this year? What is Marcus Smart going to look like this year? Rui's inconsistent play. LeBron's not there. It's the Western Conference. So I think those are more primary the reasons. I don't think the Lakers were predictable coming in. And frankly, I think if anybody thought they were getting off to a 10-4 record, you're either, you're a psychic or you're way too optimistic. I didn't think they were getting off to a 10-4 start. I mean, you guys can be honest with me on the chat. Did anybody think they're getting off to a 10-4 start? 11-4 in the first 15 games. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not think that was going to be in the cards. I think I said they got a chance to go 6-4 in their first 10. So to then add 4 more wins on top of that, potentially 5 if they win on Tuesday, it's a better start than I thought. Roger, I appreciate you, brother. I won't, over promote or anything like that, but there's a button that you can hit, whether you're on your desktop or you're on your phone, to join. And that's to be an MVP member. It's $3 a month. I do some content specifically for members, but it's also a way to support the channel. So Roger, thank you for being a member. John, I appreciate you being a member. Christian has been a member for 9 months. Lee, the Aztecs are on. Need a huge win tonight. Christian, this is why I trust you, because you got some Aztec blood in you. Yes, they're taking on Boise State. Late kickoff. I think they started at 7:30. So watch a little bit of that after. Okay, next game coming up for the Lakers. Let me break this down here real quick. I mentioned it's the Utah Jazz. I'd love to tell you guys that I know everything about the Utah Jazz, but I do not. So let's look at the Utah Jazz. I know Kessler is out for the season. I know they're 4-8 on the season as well. They got a game coming up. They play tomorrow, hosting Chicago, and then they'll come to LA on Tuesday to take on the Lakers. Here are their wins so far this season. They got a win against Indiana, Boston, Phoenix, and the Clippers. 4-8. The rest of their games are losses. If you look at just their individual players, I'm just going to assume Lauri Markkanen is leading their team. Lauri Markkanen is having a really good season. That guy's almost dropping 30 points a game. Keontae George, I mentioned Walker Kessler and his injury. So Ace Bailey is their young player as well. I mean, that game coming up has just got to be a W for the Lakers, and that's got to be one of those games where they just handle business and everybody else just moves on. Standings wise, this does not move the Lakers, even with a win tonight. So it's still OKC at 13-1. Denver at 10-2. They've won 7 in a row. Rockets at 8-3. Lakers are 10-4. And then San Antonio's 8-4. Phoenix is 8-5. Damn, Phoenix won 5 in a row. Listen, you lose a couple in a row here and you fall in the West. That's just kind of how the West works. Minnesota's 8-5, Golden State's 8-6. So with this win tonight, Lakers in the number 4 spot, full game lead on the San Antonio Spurs. I know, way too early to be talking about, obviously standings or anything like that. Let me squeeze in some scores around the NBA tonight. Cavs beat the Grizzlies 108-100. By the way, the Pels, who lost yesterday to the Lakers, fired their head coach, Willie Green, this morning. Thunder won again. They beat the Hornets. They're 13-1. They won 109-96. Raptors off to a good start. They're 8-5, 129-111. And the Nuggets beat the Timberwolves. So that was the other game that was on tonight, 123-112. Denver just keeps winning. They just keep winning. Keep finding a way to win. Okay, I'm going to read a few more of your comments, and then we'll go from there. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Just a reminder, I'm back on Monday. Obviously, if you want to catch my show, Monday through Friday, starting at 8 a.m. Now, I'm still obviously doing YouTube, but I mentioned, and I appreciate all the love. I put a post on Twitter and on YouTube yesterday, little press release that went out with my partnership with IR and AM 570. So as of now, nothing's changing, by the way. I'm going to continue doing all the YouTube content that I'm doing. It's more about them picking up the content that I'm doing and them and me contributing to that radio station and to iHeart. Any Lakers content they need, I'm obviously going to provide, or NBA content. But I appreciate the love that was on there. We should have by next week, the show will also be available in audio form. So on the iHeart Radio app, any show that I do on here will also be available in audio form after the show is done. There may be some ways where I'm kind of working on some other stuff in the background right now where I might do a collaboration with AM 570. So down the road, I may have some other ideas that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. But it's the start of the partnership. Obviously, you guys know a lot of my background's in radio, so I got ideas. I'm working with some good people over there to try to figure out different ways to work together. John Slee, great lighting. I called 11-4 start. John, you may have. And I thought in my head, you're crazy. But maybe you're not crazy. I didn't. I definitely did not do that. Always looking at the standings. I'm always curious. I'm always curious to see just what the standings look like. Phoenix has had the easiest schedule in basketball. It's good to know. I didn't know that. So that's good context right there. Good context. A lot of high seeding teams get blown out in the playoffs because they're only good in the regular season. Listen, you can make that argument about the Lakers last year, but I will say that their roster was flawed. Remember, when they traded for Luka, then they tried to get Mark Williams, and then that was it. Like the trade got nixed, and they had no way of improving their roster after that. So at least this offseason, they had a chance to improve the roster, get the right players that they felt like they needed on the team, and then, of course, try to figure out other ways before the trade deadline comes to find more ways to improve the roster as well. Okay. So Pels fired their coach. Is it Tibbs or Mike Malone? Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I will tell you this. Mike Malone, both of those coaches should have both of those coaches should definitely have they should be coaching in the NBA. But I think for them, I think the bigger question is, what opportunity do you want? Do you want the Pels job? I don't think they got to jump to any job out there. I think there's going to be better opportunities out there. All right, we'll go for a couple more minutes here. I'll read a few more comments, and then we're going to call it a day. What did I have here? I had a couple things on my notes. Yeah, I guess the final thing I'll kind of mention here, because Lakers don't face Giannis again until after the calendar year in 2026. I think the Bucks are in trouble. I think they're in trouble. I think at some point Giannis is going to look at the situation either, this season or in the summer, and he's going to say to himself, "This ain't it." Listen, I'm not telling you he's coming to the Lakers. I'm not telling you that, but got to be sort of interesting to him. I mean, he's going to have some sway of where he goes, unless, obviously Milwaukee just doesn't care where he goes, but that's fine. They can do that. But he could also say, well, I'm not signing an extension with any of these other teams, and teams can still trade for him. And for all I know, they'll do that. But I just have a very difficult time looking at the Bucks. I said it yesterday. I'm like, look, they can win this game. It's not like the Bucks are impressive. The Bucks are not the elite. They're not the Cavs or the Knicks, because there's really only a couple elite teams in the Eastern Conference. Maybe the Pistons are one of those teams. But either way, I think it's going to be interesting to see how things play out with the Bucks and with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Okay, let's see what you got here. Let's see. I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Work in progress too. I mean, that's going to all kind of get figured out too. I think right now it's more just kind of solidifying a partnership together and work in progress of I think what it's going to look like. Mike Malone looks like he loves his low stress job at ESPN. I don't know. I think some of these guys, once they get kind of they're just so competitive, it is difficult for them to kind of turn that off. All right, my people, thank you very much. Phenomenal post-game show. Fun to break it down for everybody, and I appreciate you guys hanging out, and I know there's a lot of options to go get some Lakers content, so always appreciate you guys coming here and obviously letting me break everything down for you guys. Lakers over the Bucks 119-95. I'm back on Monday morning starting at 8 a.m. Looking forward to talk some more Lakers and NBA with everybody. Until then, hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday night. Enjoy your Sunday, and I'll see you Monday morning at 8 a.m.